Hello again, I'm Brett Newton. I am a composer, orchestrator, and author, and this is the next video in our Great Works for Wind Band series. Now, interestingly, there is a large body of wind band works written in the 20th and into the 21st century that almost never get played. And that's because they were written for one particular ensemble, the American Wind Symphony Orchestra. Now, this ensemble, as far as I can tell, is no longer with us. They probably stopped about 2015 or so. It was under the direction of Austin Boudreau, and he's nearly 100 years old now, and so obviously not really doing much conducting anymore. But there's probably 100, maybe even closer to 200 pieces commissioned by the American Wind Symphony Orchestra that are by major composers. And I'm going to touch on these pieces from time to time because I think they need to be better known. But one of the reasons they're not better known is because the American Wind Symphony Orchestra did not use a standard wind band instrumentation. Well, as much as there is a standard wind band instrumentation. But namely, they left out saxophones and euphoniums. Okay, so what? So the piece I want to talk about today is by one of my favorite composers, and I often forget how much I absolutely love this guy and his music. And of course, I am talking today about Alan Hovhaness, and we're looking at his Symphony Number 4. Now, Symphony Number 4 seems like a totally normal number. I have 4 symphonies. Hovhaness wrote nearly 70 symphonies, and every one I've heard is just wonderful. I think I read a quote somewhere with Hovhaness, every piece he wrote, it's like Christmas time all the time. It's just, the beautiful chords and counterpoint and just bells everywhere. And it's just this wonderful sonority, and no other composer sounds like him. And I wonder sometimes if my own tonal language is somewhat influenced by Hovhaness. I'm sure it is deep down. But the Symphony 4, it is, I'll just kind of read through the instrumentation real quick. 3 or 6 flutes, 2 or 6 oboes, 1 or 2 English horns, 2 or 6 clarinets, a bass clarinet, 2 or 6 bassoons, double bassoon, contrabassoon, 4 or 6 horns, 2 or 6 trumpets, 4 or 6 trombones, timpani, 4 percussionists, harp. I skipped over tuba. I'm sorry. Tuba is in there too. Those extra players where he says 4 or 6, it's like 4 parts, but he says if you've got an extra player or 2, like on trombones, here on page 1 it says, well, player 5, have them double first trombone. Player 6, have them on bass trombone. So he kind of gives you dictations there. But the symphony is in 2 movements. A little bit unusual for a symphony to be in 2 movements. But some things to really look out for. In the first movement, there is a just long bass clarinet solo. It takes several pages of the score. Just this long, beautiful, rich bass clarinet solo. And it's almost immediately followed by a almost as long contrabassoon solo. And you just never hear these 2 instruments as these wonderful solo voices. You've also got lots of solo marimba and xylophone, and it's just this wonderful sound world that you hear nowhere else. And it is an absolute crying shame that bands are not playing this piece more. It is totally accessible. It is this beautiful tonal language that I honestly could see this being performed at like a Christmas concert. There's just so many lights and bells. So If you do not know the Hovhaness Symphony number 4, go and listen to it. I'm going to put a link in the description, down below, and I'll figure out which recording I like of it. But it's going to be good because they're all good recordings of it. He just records so well. But yes, Hovhaness Symphony 4. Now, he wrote like 6 or 7 symphonies that can be played by wind bands, and I will at some point try and cover them all. But start with 4, earliest, and it's just great music. Go listen to it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Have you played it before? Let me know, because there really just are not enough performances of this. And so what, your saxophone players have to sit out for a little bit. Maybe, you know, get them to play clarinet and add some extra clarinets or an extra bassoon. Because he says, you know, you could have 6 bassoons. That would be a lovely sound, wouldn't it? Well, anyway, until next time,